Welcome to Introduction to Computing, Topic 4, Understanding Email. One of the things we're going to look at is defining email, importance of email inside of communications, personal communications and business communications. Also a little bit more about managing our email as well as the anatomy of an email address, how it works. When we're looking at using email, one of the things we want to start off with is just a little historical perspective. And communication has obviously been around for eons. And Egyptian hieroglyphics is one of the more common things to reference in terms of communication. They will very primitive communication, been around since 3400 BC, and it was a way for that civilization to have messages, folklore, um, religious purposes, a variety of different reasons why they would use email, but it was a way to communicate their message. So we're looking at more of a formal evolution of sending messages back and forth for, say, professional or business relations. We can bring ourselves back to the Pony Express route, and this was kind of a Western civilization evolution here that occurred. This map is from the 1860s, and it was a way for a more expedited way to send messages back and forth through the use of horses. And it was during that time, it was certainly a relevant way. It was a very efficient way for them to send communication back and forth between each other. But now we certainly have nowhere near that type of pace. Our email is instantaneous. It allows us to send messages as well, text messages as well as graphical messages. So we can send pictures along with our text. We can also send documents in email. So we can use it for a variety of different resources that Pony Express didn't really have the capability, but it was our method is certainly much faster, light years ahead of what earlier methods was. And one of the nice things about email too, and also some of the disadvantage, is it's always with you. It's always stored there. So if you're in a business setting, email is not private for you. It is stored inside of the business servers, and your clients will store your email. Your personal email client will also store email from many years ago, and you can also determine to store it yourself, save it yourself, which is nice because you have a record of that type of communication. But it is something to be aware of. I want to bring your attention to essentially kind of understanding how the email is managed. We're going to take a look at future topics on how to sign up for an email, as well as how to adjust our email interface. But I want to bring your attention to the fact that you can use a variety of different clients to manage your email. Not only your email, but other services that you get with having an email client, such as a calendar system or address book. So I'm inside of a Mountain Lion Macintosh operating environment, and it comes installed with a mail client, a very simple mail client that's just referred to as Apple Mail. And you can see, as you'll see in a future chapter, this interface is much cleaner than what you would see in, say, a Gmail, or even some of the Hotmail or Yahoo. It's a very robust application. It is free. It comes with the operating system. Windows has like an Outlook Express, kind of a similar version of Apple Mail. But this type of application is what a majority of people use to manage their email. So if you've got personal email, you're more than likely going to use a client like this on your operating system, your computer at home. If you're in a business setting, a very high probability that you're going to use Microsoft Outlook to manage your email, as well as your calendar and messaging system. So this is not something that you will necessarily have. You won't have to go into the Gmail interface every time to check your email. You would instead use this client. If you have a mobile phone, Mobile phones come with their own email clients as well. So they would have, Apple Mail installed on their iPhones, or Android device would have a Gmail application installed there. It makes it much easier to manage and go through your email. And it's typically for managing email. It's not really set up to do very robust changes and setting changes inside of the email application itself. That's something that you would have to go to the website. So if you wanted to set up forwarding, or you wanted to do set up some POP, IMAP stuff, that sort of thing has to take place, really getting into the settings, logging directly into the email from web-based interface. But these are what you would really look at for a majority of your email managing, because once you have it set up, you're really just replying, responding, forwarding, attaching, composing new emails, things like that can easily be done inside of the clients itself. I also mentioned that you have a variety of other resources that you come with a free email account. Calendar is one of those. So again, you're going to use an interface like this. This is just Calendar on a Macintosh. Windows has a sister product to that. So this is what you would use to manage, say, your day-to-day activities. So a little bit farther in the year, so it's a cleaner calendar. But as you can see, that this is a little bit nicer application, a little bit nicer setup than what you would have inside the Gmail interface. So this is really clean. Apple products are always designed a little bit really nice, clean design. So you'd be working with something similar to this. So you would not necessarily be logging into gmail.com every time you want to check your email. So that's really something that you want to keep in mind. And you don't want to be scared off of Gmail because, wow, I don't really like the interface. You want to realize that, hey, you're not necessarily going to be inside of that interface on a daily basis. One last thing I want to draw your attention to is essentially what an email is composed of. So if we take a look here at this graphic here, we'll get an understanding of what our email is composed of. Now, when you go to set up your email account, you always want to pick a username that's going to be appropriate in, say, professional settings. So you're going to want to have something that you would feel comfortable putting on your LinkedIn page, you would feel comfortable putting on your resume, on your cover letter, showing up as from in the inbox of some emails account. So you want to be mindful of that. You don't want to do fan of Walking Dead or something. You want to have something as professional as you can. First and last names nowadays are really difficult to snag. So you want to put yourself in a situation where maybe you have a company name that you want to include, or maybe you have a last name along with some relevant numbers for you. Think of something that is going to stand out to somebody, because you can use that in terms of your branding as well. If you've got a company and you also have that email in relation to that company, I use AskMrKelly.com because that's what my domain is. That's my business name, and my email is AskMrKelly@gmail.com. I also have a domain, so I can have Mr. Kelly at AskMrKelly.com if I wanted to as well. So be mindful when you select that username. They don't give you the greatest options when you go to select that, so you want to pick something in advance before you go through the sign-up procedure. And that's the prefix to your email. So that's what you're going to get there. Also, all of them are going to have an @ symbol, and that's located on your keyboard right above number 2. And you just press Shift and then number 2, and that will give you your special character of @. So you would read it as grace.ellington@gmail.com, and that's how people would write it with using that special character. And then lastly is your email provider. So you might choose Gmail as your email. You might choose Yahoo or Hotmail. I would recommend using Gmail, but you can also use Hotmail or Yahoo, or you might have a Comcast email, so it's going to be at comcast.com. Or if you're working for an institution, an educational institution, you would have a .edu. You can have a at itt.edu as your web address. Or if you've got your own personal site, as I mentioned, you could have, I can very well use a Mr. Kelly at askmrkelly.com, because I own that domain, and my service provider for that domain allows me to set up 4 or 5 email accounts, so I can do that as well. So it really depends. You might be a nonprofit organization, then you're more likely going to have at nonprofitorganization.org, like GS or GCFlearnfree.org. So those sort of options. So what's under your control on your personal aspect is, if you're setting up a personal account, you're going to have control of that username. If you're going through a business, say if you just got a new job and you work here at this company, XYZ, then the IT individual is really going to just pick whatever the computer generates. And you might have, if they already have a Grace Ellington, it might be, G.Ellington, 2 or something. Or your, G.Ellington, any number of reasons, any number of cases they might come up with. So you have less control on that end. But on a personal side, whatever is available for you, you have control to set that. So just keep that in mind. So really your prefix is your username, and then the end of that is going to be your email provider. You can get those providers in a number of different ways, but that's how your email is going to be set up. And it's fantastic because then you have your own personal email address. So what will happen here is, once you have your email address, well, once I have an email, how do I check it? How do I get to it? Well, there's a number of different ways for that. Is more than likely, in order to set it up and to do some initial settings for yourself, you're going to want to jump directly into the address itself. So if I have a Gmail account, I would just type in gmail.com, and that would bring me to my Gmail account. And I'm already logged in here, and I would get the email and the Gmail that I needed here inside of my account. So I have a variety of different options here that I can click through, get what I want, boom. And this is my interface, so I have settings here that I can control. Whatever it is that I need, I can access very easily. If I had, say, a Hotmail account, I could just go on over to hotmail.com, and I can log into my Hotmail account. And if I had a Yahoo, I would just go on over to yahoo.com and access it that way. And then I would sign in here and sign up for a new email account if I don't already have one, or sign in with my email preferences that are set. And once you have the account, you could, if you wanted to, use the web interface. But as I mentioned before, you're more than likely going to set it up so you have a interface set up. Let's see, we're going to ask again later here. Interface set up like this. So initially what you would do is launch your email client that you have installed on your operating system, like Yahoo Mail, and you would go through and you would add accounts. As you can see here on the left hand side, I've got multiple accounts. I've got a Gmail account, a Yahoo account, and a Hotmail account. So that client allows you to check multiple emails very easily. So you don't have to type in gmail.com, go into there, yahoo.com, go into there. You have them here at your fingertips. What it will also allow you to access are your folders as well. So I've got all my folders here in Gmail. The client sees all of those. I've got all my folders for Yahoo. I don't have any really set up for Hotmail, but I have all of these as well. So I have those conversations set up automatically. It is very easy to set up in your client. You're really just going to add an account here, and the nice things about these more modern clients is you just type in your email address, you type in your login, your password, your name, and it automatically sets it up for you. And there's really little you have to do on the back end to get it going. And it's there for you, and it's ready to go, and it's great. And then you would utilize these clients to manage your email. For the most part, most managing of your email would be done through here, and not in the web interface. In the next lesson, we're going to take a look more about setup and the choices of having a web-based email and items like that in our future topics.